Kyle, I was flipping through a book this morning and I was like, where the heck did I get this book? And it's autographed by Darren Hardy. And I flipped the next page and it said, Grant, ride the rage from Kyle. So I was like, oh, thanks a lot. Nice. I was like, I don't remember buying this one myself, but I appreciate it. Thank you for the introduction also. I have a quick PowerPoint. I'm going to flip back and forth between my PowerPoint a little bit, mostly because I don't love PowerPoints, but oops, there we go. See there, look at that. The title of my message, and basically I'm going to talk about three things, but the title of my message is roller coasters and moonshots. And I'll also talk a little bit about the 6 human needs. But the first thing that I want to talk about is to ride or not to ride, right? That's a roller coaster. So you can see that. That's the visual effect right there. To ride or not to ride. You know, I want to start off by sharing a story, by a person named Darren Hardy. And some of you may have heard of Darren Hardy before, but little bio on him. He's a multiple times best-selling author. He's founder of Success Magazine. He's a performance coach, one of the best in the world to high achievers. And I want to rewind and take you back to when Darren was 18 years old. He had just graduated from high school, and his plan, or more so his father's plan, was for him to walk the prestigious halls of UCLA for the following 8 years, right? Undergrad UCLA, law school, to earn what his dad referred to affectionately as a meal ticket for life. Well, the summer before college, he was introduced to an opportunity to be in business for himself. And Darren was someone who always worked hard, right? He grew up, he didn't have a mom growing up, so he just grew up with his dad. His dad was a football coach, right? A no cry mentality, right? Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, let's go. And he was someone that worked hard. And he learned about an opportunity to sell water filtration systems. And Darren, he saw this opportunity with a bunch of his friends. His friends were like, whatever, not interested. And Darren was mesmerized. And so he jumped into the opportunity. And the people presenting said, hey, startup costs, right? You get to buy water filtration systems at wholesale. You get to sell them at retail. The startup cost was $5,000, right? For an 18-year-old, that's a lot of coin. Right. And he wrote a check. He had saved up a bunch of cash from his odd jobs, mowing lawns, you know, doing odd jobs around the neighborhood. And he stroked a check for $5,000. And what those $5,000 got him was 40 water filtration systems. So he took them, he brought them home, he put them all in the garage. They took up the whole garage. And his father got home that evening, right? Opened the garage door to pull his car into the garage. And there were all these water filtration systems. So he parks his car in the driveway, goes in the house, he talks to Darren. He's like, what the hell is this in my garage? And Darren's all excited, tells him about this new opportunity, this business that he's starting. And his father said, hey, you've got till the end of the weekend to get these out of my garage. And Darren's like, well, what do you want me to do with them? And his father says, why don't you go sell them? So Darren, you know, confident guy, multi-sport athlete, right? Like had been successful at most of the things he had done prior, right? He started to get dressed for that day and he wore some nice clothes, but as he started to get dressed, he started to get nervous. That anxiety started to set in, right? And Darren took a little bit longer to get ready than he normally took. And he set out to go sell these water filtration systems. And he knocked on the first door. And he kept going house to house to house around his neighborhood, right? Each door that opened, he threw confidence, he threw enthusiasm. He told people about the benefits of having the purest water. Instead of carrying jugs of water home from the grocery store, you'd have filtered water right from your kitchen sink, right? He talked about the dangers of having unfiltered water and how that was unhealthy for them and their families and the long-term negative effects of not having that filtered high quality water. And at the end of the day, from morning to evening, he knocked door after door after door, and he had 40 water filtration systems to start the day. And when he returned home, he had 40. Darren just put his entire life savings essentially into this new business that he thought was for sure going to work, right? He thought for sure he could do it. And very quickly, he was discouraged. It was kind of like oh crap, what do I do now? So he did the one thing that made sense for him, defeated, broken down, knowing that his father, hard person, football coach type of deal, was not the person to talk to. Also still not happy that his garage was filled. He called his grandma, the one person that he knew would be nice and be comforting and kind of pick him back up. Called grandma. She said, come over for lunch. And Darren's explaining, what he's doing and what his vision is. And he's sharing all the benefits of the water, right? The visit with grandma turned into a pitch to grandma. But before he even got to the pitch, before he got to the close, before he got to asking grandma if she wanted to get a water filtration system, she said, that's so great, honey. You know what? I'll take one. Right? Being a great grandma, right? Not great grandma, but like a great, awesome grandma. Okay, cool. She took one. And but she said, Darren, the one thing is though, how are we going to install this? You don't want me asking grandpa to install this. And Darren, with pride, he's like, oh, I'll install it. And with those words, he had his first order. And then he got an idea. He said, wow, my grandma's got a lot of friends, right? They live in the neighborhood. And he went on to sell water filtration over and over and over again. By the end of the day, he had 18 sales. And so he went from, gosh, I'm nervous, I've never tried anything like this, but I'm excited, I'm confident, to, oh my goodness, I just failed, right? This is really tough, to, oh my goodness, this is and he started to ride that entrepreneur roller coaster, right? His grandparents went on vacation, right? Darren continued to sell and sell and sell. And he's like, gosh, the only problem I'm going to have is I'm going to run out of water filtration systems. And he was making great income and everything was going amazing. And then he got a call. He got a call from his grandparents, who got a call from their downstairs neighbor. And there was a little bit of a problem. And it was a very wet problem. And Darren had installed the water filtration systems backwards. So his grandma's had leaked / exploded, right? And flooded the apartment, and then started flooding the downstairs neighbors. But not only that, he installed all of them this way. So there were ticking time bombs in all the places that he had made sales. So he went from, I'm nervous, but I'm excited, to, oh my gosh, I can't do this, to, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing on the planet, to, oh my gosh, what did I just do? Right? And fortunately, they're able to diffuse the other ticking time bombs before they all exploded. And Darren went on to be very successful in that sales business, and he built a team, and they shipped millions and millions of dollars, right? And then he sold the entire business and moved on, and then did a lot of other things that required the sales skills. But what I want to show you, back to the PowerPoint, is that's very much a day in the life of an entrepreneur. Right? We've got great days. We've got medium days. We've got low CPO days. But it's that roller coaster that's so exciting. I'll share a personal example. One of my goals this year, I wanted to get down to 165 pounds by January 31st. And this is like a snapshot of November through December. And it's very much like an up and down type of thing. And this was really frustrating for me because I was taking the correct action. I was working with a coach. I was taking the correct action on a daily basis, right? And for some reason, the data points were not just a straight line. But from having the emotional intelligence of having had some sales experience and realizing that each day is different, but our attitude and our effort makes the most difference in the long run, right? I was able to push through for that. And so, the reason why I share that example is because a day in the life of an entrepreneur is very much a day in the life of anything worthwhile. When we think about, relationships, right? I don't know about you all, but all of my relationships have better days and worse days. Sometimes I get into an argument with someone, but it's about, hey, can we move in the right direction over time? Right? Can we overcome those obstacles? Right? For me, like, I never knew that I wanted to be in sales. Now I've grown to love the game of sales and the game of management. And I say game because I really view this as playing, where I wake up and I play all day, every day until I'm not playing anymore, or I'm doing something else. And that gives the platform and the foundation to do things like Alex Funk talked about, where you can start investing and you have freedom. And it's a really powerful place to be, knowing that it's like, hey, if I wanted to sleep, I would just sleep all day. Because that's a freedom that we have, that I have, that we've built. So, the question becomes, who's an entrepreneur? And my family comes very much from the background of like, go to school, get a job, get an education, get higher education, have a safe, stable, secure income. Right? We have a lot of people in like the medical field, a couple people that, are accountants or whatever it is. But that my grandparents were uneducated. They came here, from Greece, right? They worked really, really long hours. My grandpa was in business. I guess technically both my grandpas were in business, and they worked really hard. And so for them, it was like education is everything. And education's great, right? Education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. Right? Education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. All right. I don't know if it was Mark Twain. I think it might have been Mark Twain. He said, never let schooling get in the way of your education. Right. And I think schooling is really important. My brother's applying to med schools right now. Right. Fully supportive of that. I think it's phenomenal. And there are a lot of things that are also important to learn outside of that. So who's an entrepreneur? I think this is a great answer. I'll let you read it because I know you're all capable of reading. This really stood out to me. This really stood out to me when he said all human beings are entrepreneurs. Right? That's a thing that we have in our hearts, and sometimes it's just forgotten. Right? Entrepreneurship is very much a spirit. And I think the reason why it's important is when we get into the 6 human needs. Tony Robbins talks about the 6 human needs that we all have as humans, that we all have as individuals. And I'll start with the 4 basic human needs. And these would be good to jot down because, you'll probably be a human for a while. The 4 basic human needs are certainty, uncertainty, significance, and love and connection. Well, what does that mean? We do things, right? All behavior stems from one of these 6 human needs. And the basic human needs are our natural states, right? The 2 higher level human needs, the needs of the spirit, are where true fulfillment stems from. But the 4 basic human needs, we'll start with certainty, right? What's an example of certainty? Who here, raise your hand, if you have ever watched a movie or a TV show you've already seen before? Who's done it? Let's be honest. I've done it, right? Why do we do that? Why do we do that? Because we know the movie's good. We know the movie's good, and there's comfort in us knowing that that movie is good. Now, we're also looking for uncertainty. That's when we hopefully forgot a little bit about the movie, where it's still exciting. That's where we like trying different restaurants. even though a lot of times we revert back to that certainty and we go to the same restaurants over and over and over again. Right? That's why like the idea of traveling to a new place could be really exciting. It's an uncertainty. And also, a lot of times it's more comforting to go to a place you've already been. Right? It's exciting to date new people. And it's natural to gravitate towards people you're familiar with already. Right? It's this dichotomy that all humans have. And some of us value certainty more, and some of us value uncertainty more. And really understanding how we operate as humans helps us understand what guides our compass. Then there's significance, right? Significance is having an achievement or an impact or getting recognized for something that you've done. Significance could be making a difference. We think about accolades. We think about, the greatest things in sports where it's like winning the World Series, the NBA championship, or the Stanley Cup. There's a lot of significance associated with that. But when we solely base things off of significance, ultimately that significance flutters. Right? So it's a nice thing to have, and it can be a great thing, but it's not the end all be all. And then love and connection. Right? As humans, we all need some love and connection, right? Different variants of how much, right? The merchants in the room are like, oh my gosh, I love and connection. It's so great, right? Merchants CVI. And it's important for all of us, whether those are intimate relationships or friendships or whatever it is, right? It could be a parent, it could be a kid, it could be a peer, it could be a significant other. But love and connection is important to all human beings. And then the two higher human needs, the needs of the spirit that lead to fulfillment, are growth and contribution. And that, Alex talked earlier about, hey, I want to be here as long as I feel like I'm growing. And I made that commitment when I started as rep is, hey, I'm learning a lot right now. And as long as I feel like I'm growing and I'm contributing, like this is the place for me until I don't feel that way. And what I love about my position and what I loved about being a rep and what I loved about being an assistant manager and a branch manager and a sales manager and everything in between, what I loved about those positions is they challenged me to grow and expand my capacity. And they put me in a position where I could contribute to other individuals and I could contribute to the greater vision of what we were building as a team and as an organization. And for me, when I've focused on growing and contributing, I've found that everything else takes care of itself. Everything else takes care of itself. Finances, relation, it all takes care of itself when the focus and the primary pursuit is growth and contribution. So I think about 40, 50, 60 years from now. I think about having grandchildren. I think about hanging out with my grandkids in the family room, whatever the family room looks like. I always imagine the family room looking like my grandparents' family room, but there's no way that's going to look like that. So that's kind of a funny thing. But I always imagine that. And I think about the conversation when my grandkids are old enough and they ask me, they say papu, because that's how you say grandpa in Greek. Right? I'm fired up to be a papu, by the way. I should probably be a dad first before papu, but we'll work on that. Okay. And I'm really excited for them to ask, papu, why are things the way they are for our family? Why do we live where we live? Why is it different for us than it is for blank? And my objective is that conversation is because I did things when I was younger that were difficult in order to provide what we have now. And my greatest fear, which I don't think a lot about, but I've thought about before, is I don't want to ever have to say, hey, I messed up. I didn't take advantage of the opportunities that were presented to me. And that's why we are where we are. That's why we can't do the things we want to do. Right? Like my parents, very successful, especially relative to like my grandparents. And I also grew up a lot hearing like, hey, we can't afford to do that. Right? I saw my friends take vacations and it was like, hey, we can't afford to take that vacation. I had never been out of the country, by the way, until I was 18 years old. And my first trip was with Cutco. I've never been out of the country with my family. I found, let's see. Oh, this was fun. I haven't worn this suit in a while. And I found this pen and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this pen. I haven't seen this pen in like a year, but it's from, maybe you could see that. Oh, it's going to be backwards. It's from the Ritz-Carlton in the Cayman Islands. And what's cool is when you get to travel the world, you get to get really cool hotel pens from all these hotels. Right? That's one of the things that's cool. But I think about where we're at right now. We're at a critical juncture in time. It's the end of the industrial era. It's the beginning of the connected era. And what will follow is fortunes will be made, lives will be changed, and there will be ripple effects through generations over and over and over again. And so I've got moonshots as a question mark here. What the heck's a moonshot? Well, I've been reading and studying and listening to Peter Diamandis recently, and he's a brilliant, brilliant guy. And you can feel free to do your research on him. He's got some good content on YouTube also. But he's a brilliant, brilliant guy, and he talks about this concept of moonshots. And what moonshots are is it's shooting for what might be impossible. Right? A lot of companies, they're like, hey, how do we grow by 5% or 10% this year? And what moonshots, it's revolutionizing that way of thinking. And it's like, hey, what would it look like, right? To steal like Grant Cardone's, Alex Funk had a Grant Cardone book, right? It's like, what would it look like to go for 10x? Right? What would it look like to think about things bigger than you could possibly imagine? What would it look like to drop your limiting beliefs, right? To leave those at the door and then just keep on walking. What would that look like? Right? I have written on my mirror in my bedroom, impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men. It's a fun thing to look at every day. I hope it comes off my mirror when I want to erase it, but it might not anymore. It's been up there for a couple months. And I encourage you to think about, hey, what moonshots would be exciting for you to go after? What are the things that you might actually view as impossible right now that would be exciting for you to go after? The question that I was asked when I was, I think 17 or 18, I was pretty new. But the question was, what would you do here if you knew you could not fail? It's a good question to write down. It's a better question to think about and reflect upon. And I'll wrap up with this, and this is one of my favorite quotes. Once you make a decision, The universe conspires to make it happen. So make your decisions powerfully and don't worry about it being right or wrong or perfect. Just decide, pursue, and just like a plane, you can always adjust along the ride. Thank you.